Welcome back to Proverbs 31 Life. Today we are talking about the problem with a 50-50 marriage. This is a term that I grew up hearing, was that marriage is 50-50, and the general idea of that is that both the husband and the wife have responsibilities to each other, to that marriage relationship. And to that, I would say 110% yes, okay? Marriage is not supposed to be long-term one-sided, okay? There are times, there are days, there are seasons when one spouse is doing more, they're putting in more effort, more energy, they're, doing more around the house, more with the kids, whatever it is, for certain situations. But that doesn't mean that the other person just gets to not, put forth any effort or anything like that. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying one spouse, and since this is coming from me, most of you are going to take this as me saying the husband doesn't have to do anything, and that's not accurate. But divorce is 50-50, okay? Marriage is not split down the middle. So we're going to look at that today. This is something that our culture has taken and ran with. On one side of the aisle, we have marriage is 50-50. And on the other side, you have men and women are equal. On the same side, really, you have men and women are equal. So we both have the same responsibilities. We both do the same thing. But then on the other side of the aisle, you have culture screaming that women need to be independent. It's a lot. And it's not clear where some of those lines are, but Satan wants you to believe that marriage is 50-50, and it's your job to make sure it's 50-50, to get you distracted. Do you serve at church or at your job or helping out a friend, just serving, maybe the widows or another young mom or something like that, with the idea that service is 50-50? We don't apply this to anywhere else except for our marriage. It's not supposed to be that way. Your marriage is a ministry. It's a place for you to love, to serve, to grow, okay? It's the first relationship on earth that the Lord should be seen in. So the basis of the problem with the 50-50 marriage is that it's not biblical. This is really the root of it, and everything else is going to stem from here. So let's get into some of these problems. Think back to your wedding day, okay? When you were standing at the altar and you vowed to love, honor, cherish your spouse in sickness and in health, in poverty and wealth. Did your vows include keeping score with what they did or did not do? No, because that would be crazy, okay? You did not stand at that altar and say, I expect you to do as much as I do every single day, no matter what, because this is a 50-50 deal. You didn't say that. You did not purchase scorecards to exchange at your ceremony. You purchased wedding bands, okay? You made a commitment, a covenant with this person. It did not have an exit strategy. It did not have a contingency plan of, as long as you do what I think you should do. We both said vows that we are both expected to honor because we're doing this as unto the Lord first. This is a promise that is meant to remain unbroken. This is something you fulfill, not seek to benefit from or manipulate. You vowed to do this until death do you part, not until I think it's unfair, or until I'm tired of trying, or until you give me enough reasons to leave. If you've been married more than 6 months, you've had a reason to leave. But that's not what we look for. We don't focus on the bad. We don't focus on the reasons to leave. We don't focus on the piddly argument over somebody's socks on the floor, or you didn't put gas in the car, or you forgot to pick up whatever. Okay, this is not what we're focusing on. Your wedding day gave you hope. in that moment, life was great. It was perfect. It was easy to make that commitment. And at the time, it was you two against the world. And all you needed was love to make this thing work. Somewhere we've lost that. Reality came. Responsibilities set in. Maybe there was trials, sickness, poverty, in-laws, children. Lots of things happened. All the things that you vowed to love each other through are now here, and they're threatening to rip your marriage apart. Now there's an unhealthy spirit of competition. There's a spirit of pride. And somehow there's a 50-50 mentality. Part of our flesh, part of social media, and part of the devil's working. Are you tracking who took the garbage out last? Who got up with the baby the most? Who cooked? Who did the dishes? Who spent the most time running errands and making phone calls? Who took the kid to the doctor last? You didn't vow to keep score. You vowed to love, honor, and cherish. You are both called to this. The problem with the 50-50 marriage is that your selfishness will always decide that you have done enough and no one else is equal to that. Very rarely will you look at your spouse and say, man, you've done so much and, you've made me feel so loved and I just hope that I can do that for you. When you're in the thick of it, when you're in that stress, when you're in that busy season, it's more like, can't you do this? What have you done lately? Why are you watching TV again? Why are you on your phone again? Why are you late coming home again? I need you. I want you. You need to do. We're keeping score. Do you care for your spouse and their needs like your own? That's what we're called to do. You became one flesh. Care for your spouse like you would care for yourself. Are you willing to be selfless and inconvenienced for your spouse, for their benefit, for their behalf, for their comfort? Are you willing to stop using the word fair? If you spend your days deciding what is fair or equal, when are you serving? When are you asking your spouse what they think is fair and equal? If you are being a blessing to them, if you've done enough for them, when are you blessing your marriage? When are you reaching out to someone else, encouraging them that God's way works and marriage is a good thing? Or not. Satan gets us so wrapped around the axle about the little things. We get off in the weeds of, I've changed 7 diapers today and you haven't. Is that really what we're arguing about? I hope not. Scripture gives us clear instruction on how to treat others, especially your spouse. God instructs us to be kind, forgiving, compassionate, humble, gentle, loving. Ephesians 4:32, and be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. You holding on to that grudge? Are you still upset that you didn't get to sleep in on Saturday? Romans 12:10, be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another. Matthew 19:6, wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together. He did this. Let no man put asunder. Luke 6:31, and as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. Colossians 3:12 through 14. Put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. Our marriage is not going to survive without these things. Galatians 5:22 and 23. This is for every Christian, no matter where you are in your Christian life. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, gentleness, long-suffering, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. against such, there is no law. There's no law about how joyful, long-suffering, and gentle and good you can be. There's no, the road has a speed limit sign that says you're not supposed to go over this. There's no law against that. There's no law, there's no debt to giving love, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness to others. Okay, it's not going to run out. James 1:19, wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Are you flying off the handle at every inconvenience? Listen, I've had 2 kids, okay? I know the sleepless nights. I know that tempers flare when you're exhausted, and it's hard to be nice when you've had less than enough sleep required for humans. I'm in menopause, okay? I get it. Those things are hard, but that's no excuse to not be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath, okay? We have got to learn to reel in these emotions and reel in these injustices that we feel, okay? And choose to be loving and patient and kind and to speak respectfully to those that we are talking to. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Philippians 2:3. God's way works every time. His design for marriage works. Selfishness, pride, and unhealthy competition will destroy your marriage. Proverbs 14:1 says that the wise woman builds her home, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. As wives, we have the power to build up or destroy our homes from the inside out. Does the husband have a responsibility? Absolutely. He's called to love his wife as Christ loves the church. All the things, okay? We're not excusing that. But even on the days that he fails to love you as Christ loved the church, doesn't mean that you have to retaliate with a lack of respect, love, and submission. God can be your helper to overcome all these things. Do not keep score unless you are seeking to outbless your husband. Encourage them more than they encourage you. Bless them more than they bless you. Go out of your way for them more than they do you. That's the only sense of competition we should have, is to be a blessing, okay? Divorce is 50-50, not marriage. Like I said before, it's not easy. And we're both sinners, and, we know that, and things are going to happen, and spiritual warfare is real, and trials are going to come, and there's going to be arguments. But listen, we can't hold on to these things. We need to be quick to forgive. We need to remain in love. We need to pray and ask for God's help with this. He didn't put this in the Bible for us to act this way, to just take up space. He did it because it's possible. So look to him. Stay in the Word. Stay close to the shepherd and let him lead you in passive righteousness.